Jedi Power Battles was one of the last games I expected Aspyr Media to bring to modern consoles, in no small part to the game's lukewarm to outright terrible reception it received when it originally launched back in 2000, and the fact that there are other Star Wars games far more favorably received from the 2000s that I think fans are ready for re-release. I should also say that I love the original Jedi Power Battles. This is genuinely one of my favorite games on the PS1 and one of the first video games I ever played in my life. With that being said, I'm going to try to remain unbiased. Aspyr's Jedi Power Battles, originally developed by LucasArts, is not based on the PlayStation version of the game that you might be familiar with. Instead, Aspyr used the framework of the Sega Dreamcast version that was released 6 months after. This version of the game introduced 60 frames per second gameplay, sharper visuals, and a 2-player versus mode. All of these new additions are present in Aspyr's version. I bring this up because if you're like me and only grew up playing the PlayStation release, Aspyr's Jedi Power Battles features slightly different game design than you might be used to. Gone is the fully realized in-game Jedi Council character selection screen in favor of somewhat unflattering character portraits using photos of real actors from The Phantom Menace. The level design is occasionally slightly different too. I personally notice a significantly easier platforming sequence on a conveyor belt in the game's first level. The PS1 version requiring you to jump from belt to belt, but in this version you safely ride one unbroken belt. This is as good a time as any to mention that this game is based on 1999's Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
It's a little disjointed.
Seems like a lot of short scenes.
But that's almost irrelevant as Jedi Power Battles covers the events of the movie very loosely. Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn convince the Gungan army to join them through murder and intimidation this time. And, well, the game features about 3 cutscenes, so there's not much of a story here to go off of. I believe this serves Jedi Power Battles well, as this is a fast-paced, no filler, no bullshit game. That's not entirely accurate. There's plenty of bullshit to be found in this game, and it will be discussed. The story that is present was written by Hayden Blackman, who went on to write and direct The Force Unleashed 1 and 2.
Your feelings for her are not real.
They are real to me!
Jedi Power Battles will be right at home on an arcade cabinet. This is the same kind of co-op button mashing game you'd find in an early 2000s arcade game, complete with a super simplified points to upgrade system, and the fact that you can clear this entire campaign in 3 to 4 hours. The game features 10 playable characters up front, including the previously locked characters of the original PlayStation release. Yes, even Darth Maul. And some brand new characters unlocked in New Game Plus. We will talk about this too. Each character plays different from the other and have their own special abilities to utilize. Seriously, the distinct experience you get from playing one character to another was impressively realized and easily warrants multiple playthroughs. The moment-to-moment combat of Power Battles is fun, simple, and satisfying as hell. There are more complex, unlockable combos you can obtain, and you are going to need a powerful arsenal to clear the game, especially if you're playing on the game's Jedi mode without a co-op partner. Lightsaber swings are fast, efficient, and are met with all the crunchy satisfaction Skywalker sound could provide. The level design is tight and full of personality, every scenario sending you on an epic odyssey through one of the Phantom Menace's many iconic worlds, throwing a ton of different enemy types and varied platforming sequences your way at every turn. Seriously, for a 2000 movie tie-in Dreamcast game, you can see and feel the love LucasArts put into Power Battles. A handful of moments in this game look downright cinematic. Watching 2 Jedi combat separatist battle droids through massive royal window panes with a carefully placed fixed camera is a joy to see. The game has 10 primary campaign levels, fully playable single player and in local co-op. Sorry, no online play. You are cheating yourself if you don't play this game co-op. The game's frantic combat and downright terrifying platforming sections are best experienced with nearby emotional support. Unfortunately, what's missing in Aspyr's version, and the Dreamcast version before it, are the largely destructible environments featured in the original PS1 release. This is a frustrating omission, as not only did it help create the sense that you wield a weapon that can cut and destroy anything, but this was also originally a way to generate points for your end-of-level upgrades. On top of the fact the game's final level expects you to destroy certain parts of the environment to proceed. I mentioned some platforming before, and yes, this is a 3D platformer where if you're playing co-op, yes, you both share the same camera, and yes, both players can collide and push each other off of ledges. This is one of the most frustrating aspects of Power Battle's game design. You have almost no clear indicator where your character is going to land until it's already too late. The camera placement during certain platforming sequences is often very bad and will sometimes randomly block your view with a piece of scenery, causing you to fall to your death. When I first booted up the re-release, I was considering the game might now be too easy, as you are given 9 lives instead of the classic 5 given to you on PlayStation 1. I discovered the game is not too easy, as extra life pickups are very infrequent, and if you're playing co-op, these lives are shared. This game is going to piss you off. You'll also occasionally have to protect a friendly NPC companion that have some truly awful AI and that can easily accidentally be killed via friendly fire.
Hang on, sir, wait, I'm tired!
Anakin, drop!
Up to this point, I've avoided labeling this game as Jedi Power Battles Remastered, as I can just barely acknowledge the game as such. The game's classic pre-rendered opening cinematic and ensuing cutscenes are glaringly obvious AI upscale jobs that create unnatural new effects in these 25-year-old FMVs. The audio mixing in this new release is downright awful. You have an overly pronounced scooch sound effect you're going to be hearing a lot when running through the game worlds. Rare instances of in-game dialogue are either going to be unintelligibly quiet, delayed, both, or sometimes won't even trigger at all.
We are here to rescue the Queen. Can you help us?
I know of a secret passage that will lead us to her. This way.
The visuals and game performance are solid and are going to output nicely to a large display, but I tend to prefer the grit and grain of the PS1 classic over this overly smooth look. Mentioned previously, the big new feature of this re-release are its 13 new playable characters, and I would not recommend playing as almost any of them. Most of these guys have unpolished animations, are just outright missing jump sound effects, and some have extremely limited attack arsenals. I mean, please, by all means try goofing around with these new characters. There is fun to be had here, but frankly, your starting batch of 10 is more than enough. Seriously, I would have traded away all of these new characters if Aspyr could have just created one new Jedi to play as instead. Yoda would have been an awesome addition to this game. There is, of course, the game's dual mode and 4 bonus missions, and these are equally unpolished. The dual mode is briefly entertaining, but for some fucking reason, the winner is based on points and not kills. As for the 4 bonus missions, I think I can express my experience with them in one clip. All in, this is a fun package that probably isn't for everyone. If you have a deep-rooted nostalgic love for Jedi Power Battles, you are absolutely going to have a good time revisiting this game, despite a somewhat underwhelming preservation effort from Aspyr. If you are a Star Wars fan who may have never even heard of this game, I would probably approach with caution, especially if you're only going to be playing single player. The distinct lack of polish will likely infuriate you, and at a current $20 asking price, you may find yourself underwhelmed with the game's extremely short runtime. From Second Act, this has been Jonathan.
Thank you.